Welcome back. It is 6:41 here on your Friday morning with the protests in L.A. and now other cities across the U.S. on your screen pretty much every single day this week. We're looking at what you are and aren't allowed to do during a protest. Attorney Dave Betras is breaking out the old Constitution for legally speaking. Good to see you as always.
And we're going to use some Latin in this segment. So, we fought a revolutionary war against a tyrant, a king, who would not let people peacefully protest. So enshrined in our First Amendment, the very First Amendment of the Bill of Rights. Everyone knows what the Second Amendment is. A lot of people don't know what the First Amendment is. Freedom of speech, freedom of press, and the freedom to peacefully assemble to petition your government for the redress of wrongs. You have a constitutional right to protest peacefully. Now, can the government make you get permits and things like that? Yeah, there's parameters around it. But basically, you're allowed to peacefully protest. The government is not allowed to not allow you to protest. Where it could cross the lines. Shutting down an interstate probably crosses a line, but you could peacefully protest. Now, what happens is when the peaceful protests are over, both on the left side of the political spectrum and on the right side of the political spectrum, what I call anarchists. And anarchists are people that just want the government to be overthrown for whatever reason. And so they come in and they try to flam the flames?
Fan the flames?
Fan the flames. There we go. They try to fan the flames to get the sides fighting more. So we have to really push back against that. I don't think anyone is for anyone burning buildings, burning down drugstores, setting fires on cars, stuff like that. Now, waving another country's flag, that's a First Amendment right. Standing in the middle of Market Square and saying, I'm a Nazi and I don't believe in America, that's a First Amendment right. No matter how hateful or whatever the speech is, you can't shut someone down because of what they are saying. Okay? When they start to commit crimes, that is when they could be arrested and taken away.
So what would be your best advice for somebody who is going to a protest? I know we're going to have a lot of them around here in our general area.
We have a First Amendment right to do that. Don't break the law. Don't let someone goad you into hitting them or striking you. You know, the police are usually around. They just try to corral. You know, it's like herding cats, okay? Just don't break the law. It's common sense. You know if you're breaking the law or not. You know if you're breaking something or burning something, you're breaking the law. Don't do that. As far as holding a flag up or saying anything you want to say, you are constitutionally allowed to say whatever it is you want to say.
So you mentioned we were going to use a little Latin in the segment.
Posse Comitatus.
Okay. Hakuna
which is like
Hakuna
Matata. Right? So Posse Comitatus is an act of Congress that was enacted after the Civil War and some kind of a major deal to pull northern troops out of the southern states. And what that act says is the president is not allowed to deploy active military troops into American cities. So the National Guard, which is under the control and command of the governor, there's statutes that cover that, and then the Posse Comitatus statute. And what a federal judge said yesterday was those 2,000 National Guard troops, they're now back under the control of Governor Newsom. And it wasn't something that was getting out of control. We've seen L.A. burn many times, okay? And we've seen when the governor says, hey, I need help, he calls up the National Guard. Not in this instance. You're too young to remember the 60s. I'm not. A lot of people out there are. We had a president assassinated, a presidential candidate assassinated, a war raging that was very unpopular in Vietnam that we were actively engaged in. 60,000 Americans died, countless others amputated, wounded, and we had a civil rights leader assassinated. And the cities were on fire back then. We somehow lived through that, this country. I think we'll live through this. Everyone just needs to settle down. Look, America spoke. Let's see what happens. One side, when they get power, they always go too far, and then the pendulum swings back. And that's the beautiful thing about our democracy. But if you want to go out there and protest, people, knock yourselves out. You have a constitutional right. And if anyone tries to shut down your constitutional rights, you come see me, because there is a federal torts. We call them constitutional torts. You can actually sue a government agency if they shut down your right to protest, okay? And not only that, but they have fee shifting. So the plaintiff only might get $1,000 or $2,000, but the lawyers could get hundreds of thousands of dollars in fees bringing these cases. So local government's got to watch. Can't shut down people because of what they're saying or you don't like what they're saying.
So in other words, if you want to protest, knock yourself out. Just don't knock anyone else out because that's a crime. That's a crime.
And of course, everyone won't remember that I talked about the First Amendment. They'll remember that I brought the donuts, though, from Landmark. Look at that. Now, Steve and I may have taken...
We teamed up on that to take that little
cinnamon
chunk out.
roll, yeah, we did.
And it was delicious.